Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today in the Ask SSM video series, got an email from a subscriber. This is a guy, sounds like he's probably somewhere between mid to late 50s, I think. And he's writing in asking my advice as well as you guys about a situation he has with his family. You see, he's divorced. He's divorced now for like 14 years from a wife that he was married to for 20 years who was awful to him. And I do mean in terms of getting physically awful. Okay, with rough objects. I gotta watch what I say here. And eventually he divorced her, and he had 2 children with her, and guess who spent years trying to turn the kids against him? Well, she successfully did that, and she got the kids, or the kids were saying all sorts of things that led to investigations, blah, blah, blah. And of course, he didn't do anything wrong. He was innocent, and he was fine. But after that, after listening to his advice from his lawyer, he was done with the kids. Really, done. One, because of what happened, but also because out of concern and the advice of his lawyer, that those kids could then come back for more accusations and stuff like that. And so he shares the story how all this thing went down, and he wants to know, did he go too far? Because he has, in his family, he has the men saying, you made the right choice, you're done with them, end of story. Not to mention he questions whether they're actually his kids. But the women are saying, oh, you should leave an open door for them, blah, blah, blah. And he wants to know if he's made the right decision and what do I think on this. So I thought it'd be a good one to go over here, but it's really a sad story what happens to a good guy. But you're going to see early on in this story where this guy's behavior, and let me tell you, his nice guy behavior, where it came from and the damage it caused. He says, hi SSM. I want to thank you for your channel and all the good work that you do. Not a day goes by that I don't listen to what's on your channel. I'm unsure if this is good enough for your channel, but no hard feelings if you don't pull it up. Actually, bro, I thought this would be a good one to go over here for a number of reasons, and I appreciate your support. I have 2 questions I would like to ask you. First, I'd like to give you some context before the question. I was married for 20 years and have been divorced since 2010. Okay, so it's about 14 years you've been divorced now. I was primarily raised by my mother and always told to be the nice guy. And how well did that work out? Guys, you never take relationship advice, pickup advice, dating advice, marriage advice, any type of advice along those, really any advice, from women. You take that type of advice from men, experienced men. She met my wife when we were dating and told me that I was going to propose and planned it all out for me. Your mom told you, did she tell you to propose, or she told you that you were eventually going to propose? And what's with this? She planned the proposal out for you. Smack, God's sakes. I'm smacking past you, not present you. Hopefully this gives some kind of idea of my mental state, and that I had at the time a complete simp. I respect that you can admit that. A lot of guys don't. So we had 2 children during the marriage. I learned the lessons that you teach in your videos the hard way. There were various points during the marriage that she would hit me with the broom or mop handles or whatever was handy at the time, to the point that I stopped swimming or taking my shirt off at the beach because everyone would ask me about the bruises. What the fuck, man? Not once, but multiple times hitting you? And this is the woman that your mom said, oh, you're going to marry? Now, obviously, he was Mr. Nice Guy and a simp. He admits that, but still, this goes to a whole new level of horrible treatment to him. Physical abuse. Every reason to get out of this freaking marriage, But I guess he probably stayed for the kids to protect them in case she would do the same thing. I don't know. As time went on, I became so depressed, I attempted to delete myself more than once to get away from her. It's never the answer, man. I'm sorry you went through this, but there are so many things you should have done, Yeah, you're raised by your mama to be a certain way, but as an adult, you have to take responsibility for your actions. My father stepped in and actually paid for the lawyer to get me divorced. Well, thank God for your dad. It took a lot of years since then, but I have put my life back together. Believe me, I could go on about the rotten things she did to me and the kids. Bro, I'm not surprised. It's so awful in a marriage, and especially a divorce, what the vindictive, spiteful, mean as fuck ex-wives do and say to the kids to turn them against the dad. And sadly, this is a story as old as time. We had joint custody for the longest time. I did not realize it, but she had been turning the 2 children against me. Later, she admitted to me that she and the kids got together and filed a report against me with Child Protective Services. And yet, this is coming from the woman that would repeatedly take a broom or a mop or some other object and club you with it, reporting you, saying, well, you get the idea. This is supposed to be so that she can get primary custody of the kids. And she's been filling those kids' head with all sorts of lies and BS the entire time. I want to know how old the kids are while all of this is going on and getting them to say certain things and all that. Because I'm willing to bet you she was probably telling them that it's your father. It's your father's fault that we got divorced. It's your father's fault. Your father did these mean things to me, and you can imagine there. The children were interviewed by something called a forensic child psychologist. They investigated the issue for 6 months, and I did not see the kids. Well, in hindsight, that's a good thing, but 6 months you couldn't see your kids. When the report came back, it completely cleared me of wrongdoing. Of course it did, because you didn't do anything. Why? I gotta be honest here. Why didn't you, seek an investigation of her? I can only imagine what she's doing to the kid based on how she was violent with you. After the first 2 months, I went and saw a lawyer about the situation. His advice after he saw everything was to let it all go and have no contact with the kids or my wife ever again. Did he mean when the children were minors or forever? The reason he gave was that because she had taught the kids that it was okay to make stuff up that could end me in jail because there was nothing to stop them from ever doing it again. In his words, if the accusations kept coming in, they will eventually be believed if you're guilty or not, because that's how the court system works when it comes to men in these situations. I hate to say it, but I agree with your lawyer, you know? And it's like this, I have to wonder, like, what was specifically that she and the kids were saying you did to warrant this this investigation that lasted 6 months? And was it like one of those things where, like, okay, kids, say this about your dad, even though he didn't do this, say this because he hurt me and he's the cause of the divorce. Who knows what poison she was putting in those kids' heads? Now, here's the thing. If they're minors and the mother is saying all this to them, they're young kids or they're teenagers. I'm guessing at least they were teenagers when this shit was going on. You know, yes, they should certainly know better and not to make up stuff, you know, but who knows what she was twisting and manipulating, and the kids want to believe their mom. Who the hell knows what she was doing? So, yes, they're responsible for their actions, but they are also kids. I don't know how old they were. I don't know all the circumstances here, but she is the real fucking villain in this story here. But the kids should have known better, but you get the point. I took his advice and cut off all contact with all of them. In my opinion, I'm not sure what they were mine anyway. The last thing I said to my ex-wife was that if she came after me for child support, I was going to have paternity tests on both kids. I honestly expected her to come after me, but she never did it after that conversation. Well, how about that? If all those years she was getting rough with you, I gotta watch what I say here on YouTube with blunt objects amongst other things, I have a very hard time believing that there wasn't other men in the picture before the kids were born, cheating on you, affairs. So one would have to wonder, are those kids even yours? And the fact that you said that and you haven't heard from her since, that she never came after you for child support, or I guess she didn't come after you for child support before, I don't know. That says something. Now for my questions. Number 1, what is your opinion on the lawyer's advice? And number 2, all the females in my family that know what happened have said that I need to keep the door open and be understanding if they want to come back. When you say they, do they mean just the children or the children and your ex-wife? If they're adding your ex-wife into this category, fuck them. You bring her back? They know that she was harming you and all that, amongst many other things? Absolutely not. As for the kids, we can discuss that in a moment. All the men in the family that know what happened has said hell no, and they should never ever be allowed back. What do you think the men and the women in the family think so differently about what I should do in the future? In my opinion, fuck them. With the 3 of them gone, I'm happier than I ever have been. I don't date at all and have found my purpose in my job. I get paid twice a month, and that last pay period I worked 140 hours. Damn, dude, 70 hours a week. You're a busy, hard-working guy. I've been able to have a couple of surgeries I was putting off. After the surgeries, I am much more active and have been losing weight. There's a peace in my life where I'm alone and cannot be there is a peace in my life where I'm alone and that cannot be described. Well, holy shit, dude, this is one hell of a story. I'm really sorry you went through all this. Yes, I know you were raised by your mom to be the nice guy, but there's nice guy and there's whip puppy nice guy. And you, no pun intended, you were the whip puppy nice guy. I'm sorry you went through all this. Your ex-wife is evil. She's like a fucking fairy tale evil witch or something like that, you know? And for what she did to you and how you put up with it, I got probably wonder you put up with it all those years to protect the kids. I don't know. And then ironically, the kids then accused you with her meddling of various things. So you're asking me, what I think about the lawyer's advice? Well, I absolutely agree with the lawyer's advice as long as they were minors, because of what they were saying and what could have been escalated, because enough accusations came the way and you had a different type of judge, you get the point where that's going. And if you ended up in prison with all these accusations of involving kids, you know what happens to those guys. So, I mean, that is horrible. I wouldn't have anything to do with them either. Now, the thing is that obviously your ex-wife, who's just a witch, put all that shit in their heads. Now, they were responsible for making shit up, but still, she played a major part. And who knows what was said? There's a lot of info missing here. But I agree with your lawyer in saying basically avoid all of them until, definitely when they were minors. When they became legal adults, different. Now, if one day your kids came to you and said to you, I am so sorry, I found out all these years later through my mom's diary or something that she made all that up and lied to us to get back at you, and they're sincerely sorry, then maybe, just maybe, I would hear them out. Maybe, if they were sincere about it as adults and all that. But other than that, I wouldn't reach out to them. And again, you don't even know if they're your biological kids. But then there's a whole other thing that I feel bad for this guy. First, the marriage went down to hell in a handbasket. She's awful. Then the kids he obviously loved for a long time turned on him. I mean, that's just heartbreaking, this poor guy. And so now, yeah, he has peace now in his life alone. I'm sure he has a good dog or a good cat or who knows what he has, a pet snake. And he has his bros, he has his purpose in work, and he has peace and quiet. I'm glad for that. That's what I think. They come back into your life as adults and they're sincere and sorry and they mean it, then, I'd consider that. As for regards to your family, the men in your family, the women in your family, most men, when it comes to decision making, will come from a place of logic and reason to greatly influence their decision making. Women, when it comes to decision making, greatly, not all, but greatly have emotion contribute to the decision making. And so the men are thinking, fuck that, don't put yourself in this situation. The women in your family are thinking emotionally that other kids are manipulated and this, and this, assuming they meant just for the kids. Of course, you wouldn't have anything to do with your ex-wife. And go from there. But still, the guys are protecting. The women are thinking, the poor kids, or what would happen if they were in that situation, So I would stick to the guys, but again, I'm not surprised. Women tend to stick with each other and a lot of the times. Now, there are exceptions, of course. 4% of my subscribers are women, and I've noticed a pattern that a lot of these women write into me. They're usually in their 40s and 50s. They have boys, and they don't want to see their boys' lives destroyed by the harpies that are out there. So they really like my work. They like the stories I tell to help them warn their boys. They like that I promote guys getting their shit together. I mean, that's why the 4% of women that follow me like me. And these type of women would never want their fathers or brothers or uncles or cousins or sons to be hurt. It would not be having an open door to people that hurt them, But so I would stick to the guys. So, bro, I'm sorry that happened, but that's what I think. The only way I'd even consider it with those kids, like I said, is they came to you as adults. And we're sincere and apologetic, and they realized their mother was a witch and all that. And even then, you do what you want to do. But it's a tough situation. And the only reason I'm saying that is because I know she absolutely was filling their ears with all sorts of bullshit and lies and everything to turn against you, because that's the greatest revenge you can have, to turn them against you. And then there's the whole other question that they're in fact your children or not. So that's what I think. But as for your life, man, keep doing what you enjoy. I'm glad you're enjoying your peace and quiet, and I really hope you continue to find peace and happiness in your life. So that's what I think. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let this guy know what you think. Really, take a moment. Maybe you guys have dealt with bad divorces and something ugly along these lines. and you can give some information there. I'd really appreciate you take some time to help this bro out. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.